Let me break down what's happening across Europe right now, because this is getting serious. I'm Andrew Meatrich, and I've been tracking these developments all day. I spent years working inside a major media outlet, watching how stories got sanitized and shaped to fit corporate agendas, and I walked away from all that. Now I'm independent, I speak without filters, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's unfolding. Ursula von der Leyen just dropped a bombshell that should terrify anyone who values digital freedom. The European Commission head has thrown her full weight behind establishing a minimum age for social media access across the EU. She's not tiptoeing around this, she's declaring that it's time for digital adulthood requirements for social platforms. They're setting up an expert group to figure out exactly how to implement this at the European level. Here's what this really means, folks. Every single person wanting to access social media in the EU will need identity verification to prove their age. Nobody stays anonymous anymore. Everyone becomes trackable. Everyone gets catalogued. Everyone falls under their surveillance umbrella. This isn't about protecting kids. This is about control, pure and simple. And it's just a matter of time before this system expands beyond age verification. If you're seeing the bigger picture here, hit that like button and subscribe, because this channel is where we connect the dots that mainstream media won't touch. And if you want to help keep this independent voice alive, consider becoming a channel sponsor. Your support means everything when we're fighting against the narrative machine. Now here's the twisted irony. While Europe is building digital walls, Apple just released an incredible real-time translation feature for their wireless earbuds. 5 languages, instant communication: English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese. This should be revolutionary for Europe, right? All those languages, all that need for seamless communication. But guess what? The EU has blocked this feature completely. Their own Digital Markets Act and data protection requirements have made it impossible for Europeans to use technology that would actually benefit them. So Europe creates the perfect environment for this innovation, then bans the innovation itself. Meanwhile, they can't develop anything comparable on their own. It's bureaucratic suicide disguised as consumer protection. The surveillance state marches forward, but actual useful technology gets strangled in red tape. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Speaking of patterns, von der Leyen is facing another scandal, and this one involves deleted text messages with French President Emmanuel Macron. The European Ombudsman has launched a serious investigation into correspondence that mysteriously disappeared. Here's what happened. Macron apparently expressed serious concerns about the EU trade deal with Mercosur, the South American Common Market, warning that it would devastate French farmers. These weren't casual comments. These were official communications that should have influenced major trade negotiations. But von der Leyen apparently read the messages and then deleted them completely. The European Commission was legally required to preserve Macron's input, especially since it directly related to the Mercosur deal that was finalized last December. Instead, they treated the concerns of French citizens like digital trash. This shows complete disrespect for member state interests and European citizens who will bear the consequences of these trade agreements. Meanwhile, French unions are mobilizing again, and they're not happy with their government's empty promises. The unions have called for another nationwide strike on October 2nd, and this one's going to hurt. After spending over 2 hours in talks with the Prime Minister, union representatives left feeling completely ignored. They went through the motions of listening, but nothing substantial came out of those negotiations. The inter-union delegation walked out of those talks ready to escalate their fight. France is heading for more chaos, and the government seems powerless to address the underlying issues driving this unrest. And here's a moment that perfectly captures Macron's international standing. Turkish President Erdogan absolutely roasted him during their recent meeting in the US. When Macron said his usual, "Everything's going well," Erdogan replied with a sly smile, "I'm glad to hear that." It seems there are moments when things go well. The dig was obvious to everyone watching. The whole world knows exactly how well things are going in France right now. These leaders can't hide behind diplomatic pleasantries when their countries are falling apart. Erdogan's subtle mockery hit harder than any direct criticism could have. Now let's talk about Germany's massive space ambitions, because this is getting expensive fast. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius just announced a comprehensive space deterrence package at the German Industry Federation's Space Congress in Berlin. Germany wants to control space, and they're willing to pay big for it. They're planning to invest 35 billion euros, that's billion with a B, to create comprehensive orbital security architecture. We're talking satellites, ground stations, reliable launch facilities, and all the supporting services. The Bundeswehr is also establishing its own military satellite control center as part of their space command structure. Pistorius claims this is the only way to respond quickly in emergency situations. So Germany is militarizing space while their citizens can't find affordable housing and are dealing with energy crises. The priorities here are absolutely stunning. Meanwhile, in Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has confirmed he's running for re-election despite multiple corruption scandals and ongoing investigations. The polls show the Conservative Popular Party and right-wing parties are positioned to win the next elections, but Sánchez is pushing forward anyway. Here's something that should concern every European manufacturer. The head of the EU Chamber of Commerce in China is warning about a potential surge in Chinese exports to Europe. With trade flows potentially shifting away from the United States toward Europe, Chinese goods could flood European markets at extremely low prices. This would crush local European producers who can't compete with subsidized Chinese manufacturing. But the European Commission is taking a wait-and-see approach, saying there's no concerning growth yet. They'll think about protective measures when the damage is already done. This passive response is exactly how European industry gets decimated. And speaking of German problems, they've calculated a shortage of over 500,000 apartments nationwide. Hamburg alone needs about 20,000 more units. Rent prices are skyrocketing, people are desperately searching for housing, and authorities keep promising to build more. But here's where it gets absolutely ridiculous. They had a solution, a €240 million project with 800 apartments, 2 kindergartens, a supermarket, and a sports center scheduled for completion in 2027. The construction got stopped because of coffee smell. I'm not joking. There's a major coffee roasting plant nearby that's been operating for decades. The local school and kindergarten have coexisted with this aroma for years without complaints, but new EU regulations officially classify coffee smell as unpleasant for residential construction. The emissions law requires housing to be built only in healthy environments. So Hamburg's district administration halted the entire project. Now the coffee company has to commission studies on reducing the aroma, install filters, new pipes, modernization. With German bureaucracy, this approval process will take months or potentially years. Meanwhile, hundreds of families remain without housing while bureaucrats drink coffee and write reports about compliance. This is the EU regulatory state in action, folks. People need homes, but coffee smell is apparently a bigger priority than the housing crisis. Let me know in the comments what you think about this insanity, and don't forget to subscribe for more reality checks like this. Let me wrap this up with some developments from the United States that perfectly capture the current political moment. In the White House Portrait Gallery, where traditionally all American presidents are displayed, Joe Biden's photo has been replaced with an image of an automatic document signing machine. The Trump administration published these updated gallery photos on social media, and the symbolism is brutal. Next to this auto pen device hang portraits of Donald Trump from his presidential terms. It's a harsh reminder of how many important documents were signed automatically during the Biden administration, possibly without his knowledge or involvement. Many people worldwide genuinely believed Biden was sitting there carefully considering each document, deciding what to sign and what to reject. The reality was apparently quite different, and Trump's visual jab drives that point home mercilessly. There's also a bizarre story from China that shows how money can't solve relationship problems. A company owner fell in love with her employee and paid his wife $420,000 to agree to a divorce. She was so eager to speed up the process that she offered this massive compensation. But within a year, the businesswoman got tired of the relationship and sued to get her money back. Initially, the court sided with her and granted the refund, but after reviewing the case, they reversed the decision. The court ruled that the money should be considered alimony from the former husband to support his ex-wife and child, not a payment from the businesswoman. They decided this arrangement was more fair, so the money stays with the ex-wife. These are the kinds of legal cases we're seeing in our modern world, where love, money, and relationships create increasingly complex situations. So, to summarize what we've covered today, the EU is building comprehensive digital surveillance systems under the guise of protecting children, while blocking useful technology that could actually help Europeans communicate. Von der Leyen is facing investigation for deleting crucial communications with member state leaders. France is heading toward more strikes and unrest. Germany is spending 35 billion euros on space militarization, while citizens can't find affordable housing that doesn't smell like coffee. And China is preparing to flood European markets, while EU officials take a passive approach. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a larger pattern of bureaucratic control, misplaced priorities, and leadership that's completely disconnected from citizens' real needs. Stay alert, keep questioning, and keep demanding accountability from those in power. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like if it opened your eyes to something new, and consider supporting this channel if you want independent voices to survive in this controlled media landscape. The truth matters now more than ever.